Hello everyone, here we are starting with class 10th biology portion, and the chapter which we are starting is life processes. So let's start. So, what are life processes? As we have earlier discussed that life processes are life maintaining activities, means that all those activities which are required for sustaining or maintaining the life by any living organism. We can take the examples also. For example, cellular organization. As we know that every living organism is made up of cell. So this cellular organization is also a life process. Then we can take nutrition. We know that the process of intake of food and its utilization is nutrition, and every living organism is dependent upon nutrition process. Then growth, we know. Then respiration, everyone has to respire. It means that respiration is a fundamental process of every living being. Then circulation means circulation of substances or transportation of substances from one place to another in the body. Then excretion, we know that the substances which are not, we can say that, which are toxic for our body, those substances are needed to be removed from the body. So this excretion process is also important for maintaining the life, otherwise the organism will not remain living. Then movement. What is movement? Movement means that if there is any change in position, it is not necessary that a person or any living being is moving from one place to another. If any kind of movement is there, even we can take the example that some plants, they don't show locomotion, but they move, they show movement. Means if there is drooping of leaves, if there is growth of shoot or root, that is also a movement. Then reproduction, it is, we can say that reproduction is not important for being living, but it is necessary for continuing the, or we can say that to maintain the gene pool of every living being. So all these are life processes. Now, so nutrition. What is nutrition? It is a process of intake of nutrients and its utilization to produce energy. Means not only taking in nutrients, it is nutrition, but its utilization also. When we are utilizing and producing energy for fulfilling our metabolic requirements, then it is nutrition. Now modes of nutrition, we have two modes, autotrophic and heterotrophic. So in autotrophic we have again two, photo and chemoautotrophic, and in heterotrophic we have parasitic, saprophytic and holozoic. Now see, what is autotrophic? When the organism is able to synthesize its own food, it is autotrophic nutrition. Whereas organism, if it is dependent on other organism, then it is heterotrophic. Now in photoautotrophic nutrition, we know that when the organism synthesize its own food in the presence of light, then it is photoautotrophic. And when there is the synthesis of food with the help of certain chemicals, then it is chemoautotrophic. Then parasitic nutrition, when the organism is dependent on any other living organism for food, then it is parasitic nutrition. But in that condition, the organism that is dependent on other living being, it is parasite, and the organism on which it is dependent, it is known as host. And after taking nutrition, it gives some harm to that host. So that is parasitic nutrition. It may kill, or it may harm in another way also. Then saprophytic nutrition is a nutrition when organism is dependent on other organism, but there we can say that in that condition it is not dependent on living being, it is dependent on dead and decaying organic matter. Then holozoic nutrition is the nutrition in which organism engulfs the food. We will discuss its steps also. See, these are the examples. Green plants, algae, they are photoautotrophs. Sulfur bacteria or some other bacteria like nitrosomonas, they are chemoautotrophs. Then cuscuta, ticks, leech and tapeworm, these are parasitic. Then saprophytic, we have fungi, for example mushroom and yeast. Then holozoic, human beings are following holozoic mode of nutrition as well as amoeba also. Then these are the steps of holozoic nutrition. There are 5 steps: ingestion, digestion, absorption, assimilation and egestion. So in case of ingestion process, it is intake of food. Then in digestion, it is complex molecules are converted into simple ones. Then in absorption, it is when the alimentary canal, the food that is present in animal alimentary canal, it is converted or it is transformed into blood. And then if it is converted into energy, it is assimilation, and when the waste is removed out, it is egestion. Now it is nutrition in plants. Nutrition in plants, we know that plants, they are autotrophs and they are capable of synthesizing their own food. So the process by which they synthesize their own food, it is photosynthesis. And this process, we often say that in our some class 6 or 7th we have discussed that it is just the process in which organisms synthesize, or the plant synthesize its own food when in the presence of light or water or chlorophyll is needed. But here we will simply say that it is the process of conversion of light energy into chemical energy by green parts of plants. So how this energy is converted? See, this is sun, this is the plant, okay, and we know that in which part of the plant photosynthesis process occurs, in leaves. So, and we know that chlorophyll is needed for trapping the sunlight. So see, in the presence of light and water, water will be absorbed from the roots, and light, it will be trapped by the chlorophyll pigment which is present in the chloroplast of leaves. So here you can see that this light is absorbed and water is absorbed by the roots, and by this process, in that condition, what will happen? This light will be trapped by the chlorophyll and water will be absorbed by the roots, and after this we can say that carbon dioxide will be taken from the atmosphere. So these three are the factors which will help the plant to synthesize the food. So with the help of light, water and carbon dioxide, what is given off? Oxygen and sugar, that is we can say glucose, is formed in photosynthesis process. So light, water and carbon dioxide, and with the help of chlorophyll, the process will occur, and here oxygen, it is given off into the air, and it is sugar, that is glucose, it will be converted into starch, that is the reserve food for plants. So in the process of photosynthesis, what happens? This light energy, it is trapped by the chlorophyll pigment and it is converted into chemical energy by the green parts of plants. You can see the reaction also. See, 6CO2 plus 12H2O, it gives C6H12O6 plus 6H2O plus 6O2. Here you can see that we have discussed right now that carbon dioxide and water combined to form glucose, and water and oxygen, these two are byproducts, and in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll, processes occurring. Now see, what are the raw materials? Here we will say that carbon dioxide and water, these two are raw materials, not sunlight and chlorophyll, because these are just for facilitating the process, or they just favor the process, but we can't say that raw materials are sunlight and chlorophyll. So the two raw materials needed for photosynthesis process are carbon dioxide and water. So this is the reaction of photosynthesis. Then come to site of photosynthesis. We know that chloroplast, it is the site of photosynthesis. Where chloroplast is present? It is present in the leaves. Now see the structure of chloroplast. See, firstly we will discuss that it is a double layer structure, double membrane structure, This is the inner membrane, this one is intermembrane space, and this one is outer membrane. We can say that the space between inner and outer membrane is intermembrane space. Then you know that certain lipids and some starch molecules are also present there. Now you can see, this is just like, if you will see this one structure, like we can consider it as a coin, and when we place 5, 6 or 10 some more coins over each other, it becomes a pile of coins. So you can see that this whole pile is known as granum. It is known as granum, and the single one is thylakoid, and the that rod like structure which connects to granum, it is known as lamella. So this one is ribosome. Then this whole fluid part, or we can say this matrix in which granum or thylakoids are placed, it is known as stroma. And we have discussed it earlier that chloroplast, it is a strange organelle. What are strange organelles? Organelles which have their own DNA. So chloroplast, it has DNA also. So this is the structure of chloroplast. Now the main thing that we have to consider is stroma and granum. Now see, mechanism of photosynthesis. Now we have discussed that conversion of light energy into chemical energy is simply photosynthesis process, but it is not as much simple as we are thinking, because there are certain processes which are going on and we are not able to see those processes. So let's have a look over the mechanism of photosynthesis. See, firstly we will discuss the steps of photosynthesis. First one is absorption of light energy by chlorophyll pigments. See what happens, earlier we have discussed that energy, that chlorophyll is responsible for absorption of light energy. So what happens, firstly energy, that is light energy, it is absorbed by the chlorophyll initially. So this one is first step, absorption of light energy by chlorophyll pigment. Then what is the result of that absorption process? It leads to conversion of light energy into chemical energy. What happens, it this process we can also say that it is photolysis of water. That water molecule is broken down into hydrogen and oxygen. So this light energy, and in that condition only, we are not discussing it in detail, but it happens here that NADPH and ATP are formed. So these are some chemicals which are synthesized after the absorption of light by chlorophyll pigment, and as a result of absorption of light by chlorophyll, this water molecule is broken down. So when this water molecule is broken down, this light energy is converted into chemical energy. And the next step, last one, is reduction of CO2 to form carbohydrates. So this, you know that reduction process is the process in which carbon, we can say that in which hydrogen is added. It is reduction process. So reduction of CO2 to form carbohydrate, you can see here carbon dioxide, here we have carbon and oxygen, and carbon, oxygen, and here hydrogen is also added. So here carbon, hydrogen and oxygen we have. So carbon dioxide is reduced to glucose. So these are the three steps of photosynthesis. Now see, we have two reactions, dark reaction and light reaction. Now what is dark reaction? See, the reaction which needs necessarily light, it is light reaction. And the reaction which necessarily which we can say that light is not necessary in that condition, if it will be present or it will be absent, it will not bother. So that in that condition it is dark reaction. So see, first two steps that we discussed, see these steps, they are occurring in this manner only, that this is the first step, absorption of light energy, then second one is conversion of light energy into chemical energy, and third one is reduction of CO2 to form carbohydrates. So these three steps, they are in sequence. So first one is absorption of light energy by chlorophyll pigment. You all know that if there will be light, then only this process can occur. It means that it is light dependent process. And conversion of light energy into chemical energy, we know that if light is not present, then how it can be converted into chemical energy. So it means that first two steps, they will be placed under light reaction process. So light reaction, it includes two processes, absorption and conversion. So it is along with splitting of water molecule, and this light reaction occurs in grana part of chloroplast. In grana of chloroplast, these two steps will occur. And the last one, reduction of CO2 to form carbohydrates. See, carbohydrates, they are converted into, carbon dioxide is converted into carbohydrate. So in that condition, there is not necessary that it is not necessary that light must be present here. If it will be present or absent, it will not affect the process. So carbon dioxide is converted into glucose. So this is dark reaction, and here it is reduction of carbon dioxide. So you can see this is the complete reaction of photosynthesis, where carbon dioxide, it is converted into glucose. This is dark reaction, and reduction of CO2, which occurs in stroma part of chloroplast. And this is light reaction, in which there is splitting of water molecules. You can see here water molecule is splitted, hydrogen ions are liberated out, and it is oxygen. So it occurs in grana. Now, structure of stomata. You know that stomata, it is a very important part in plant. As you know that stomata, these are some microscopic pore-like structures which are present on the upper or lower epidermis. Epidermis, I think you all are aware that epidermis is the outermost layer in plants. In every part of the plant, it is epidermis. So epidermis of leaves, they have some microscopic pores called stomata, and these are surrounded by two bean shaped cells called guard cells. So you can see guard cells, we can say that stomata is nothing, it is just an opening. So guard cells, they regulate opening and closing of stomata. You can see here, this is the structure showing open stomata, and this one is closed stomata. Now see, these are guard cells. You can see here, there is only one difference in both the diagrams, that this space is here. You can see the space here, but you can't see the space here, because here you will not be able to see the stomata, because it is closed here and it is open. That's why there is a space between two guard cells. Now see, these two are guard cells, this one is thick cell wall, and these are chloroplast which are present in the guard cells. Then nucleus, then vacuole. We know that large vacuole is present in plant cell, thin cell wall. Then epidermal cells, outermost, outer coverings, outer cells, they are known as epidermal cells, and this one is stomata. So only one difference is there, that is stomata is open and stomata is closed. Now see how guard cells regulate opening and closing of stomata. You know that what happens, suppose that here we are considering this diagram, that stomata is closed. Now what happens, when these epidermal cells, they absorb water, it moves in this direction, and when there is absorption of water, this layer, it swells, and when it swells, a pressure is created in this direction, that is turgor pressure. So this condition is known as turgidity. When they will become turgid, or when there will be turgor pressure, you can see that stomatas are opened. Now when the stomatas are opened, again you can see that this, when they will lose water, when in open stomata condition, when they will lose water, again this membrane will split in this direction. So again stomata will be closed, and in that pressure, or in that condition, the pressure which is inserted or which is applied, it is known as flaccid pressure, or the condition is known as flaccidity. This is the structure. Now, cross section of leaf. You know that what is cross section. If we are just looking the diagram of leaf from outside, so it will not be as much typical as it is from inside when we are considering anatomy of any living being or any plant or any part of the plant. So cross section of leaf means when we are taking a section of leaf, means from inside we are looking that what all parts are there which are present inside it. So you can see the structure. You all know that in case if we are taking leaf, the outermost covering is epidermis. Now upper epidermis, that is on upper side, and lower epidermis, that is on lower side. Now see, outermost this thick covering, it is known as cuticle. This is cuticle, that is a waxy layer which is present to avoid or to prevent the loss of excess water. Then this is upper epidermis. Now you can see that just below upper epidermis there are certain elongated cells, you can see, in which we can say that between these cells intercellular space is very less. So this is palisade tissue. This is palisade tissue. There is a layer of palisade tissue just below the upper epidermis. Then after palisade tissue, you can see that in the center there is the xylem and phloem. Vascular bundles are present, and just adjacent to this certain spongy cells are there. We can say that parenchyma cells. So these all are spongy parenchyma cells, and you can see large air spaces are present between them. So palisade tissue, then spongy parenchyma, and then lower epidermis. And in lower epidermis you can see these are guard cells, and guard cells, when they are opened, we say that stomata is opened. Now see, this one means the palisade tissue along with spongy parenchyma, this whole region is known as mesophyll tissue. So mesophyll tissue is basically responsible for photosynthesis process. Upper and lower epidermis, they are devoid of chloroplast, but palisade and spongy parenchyma contain chloroplast, and spongy parenchyma, they have large intercellular spaces for easy movement of gases. So now next last topic of this nutrition in plants is factors affecting photosynthesis. So there are so many factors, but here we will discuss only 4 factors, that is light, water, carbon dioxide and temperature. We know that for every all these factors, they must be present in optimum amount. We can say that if it is excess, then also it is harmful. If it is in less quantity, then also process will not occur. So we can say that if light, in case of light, in red and blue light, photosynthesis rate is maximum, and in green light it is least. Or we can say that photosynthesis will not occur when there is green light. Then water also, there should not be water logging, and there should not be lack of water. So it should be in optimum amount. Same in case of temperature, we can say that if it is too high, definitely it can burn the those catalyst or those enzymes which are required for photosynthesis. But if it is very less, then also photosynthesis rate will not be very high. Then carbon dioxide, it should also be present in optimum amount, otherwise it can be toxic for the plants.